What's going on, guys? Owens Forum coming at you with another video. In today's video, we got some breaking news. The Lions did release a player today. You guys know who this guy is. James Houston, pass rusher for the Detroit Lions. If you don't really know who he is, I'll get into it in a minute. But at first, I want to give a quick shout out to my guy, Avery Giovanni, Spirit of Detroit podcast, sorry. On YouTube. Go check him out, man. This was a guy that kind of called James Houston a couple years ago saying there's a possibility or that he really liked him for the Detroit Lions to draft him for Brad Holmes to bring him in. And Giovanni hit it right on the head, man. Avery knows his college football. He knows his college players. And he made that call. And he also made the same call saying that after his debut finally in 2024, that there's a good possibility that he was going to get released. He kind of called the release. He goes, he wouldn't be surprised if they released James Houston. And lo and behold, like 2 months later or whatever it was when I think he made that call back in maybe October. I believe it was October. Yeah, I believe it was October. So October 3rd or something like that, if I can remember correctly. And he said there was a possibility that wouldn't be surprised if he got released and he's gone. So go check him out. Spirit of Detroit podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. That's the big one right there. And go check him out, man, for all your Lions content and college player news. Good job, brother. But yeah, back to James Houston, man. He was a 6th round pick. His story is weird. His story is different, man. Took the NFL by storm in 2022. Lions, he came in as a rookie, finally got him in. We'll talk about that in a bit after we talk about his stats. But let's talk about his stats right now. He was a 4-year college guy, okay? 4-year college, 6'1", 240 pounds. He's 26 years old as of right now. He did play at Florida. He's a Florida Gator for 3 years. Then he entered the transfer portal and went to Jackson State Tigers for 1 year. That's where he took off. But 103 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, four forced fumbles, 4.5 sacks, all with the Gators right there. Kind of a part-time linebacker. He was a linebacker for the Florida Gators, okay? And then he goes to Jackson State Tigers, enters the transfer portal, goes to Jackson State, becomes a Tiger, and Deion Sanders, primetime, was the head coach at the time there, and they made him into a rush end. Pretty much they did almost like a Hard Knocks when Deion went over there. He's primetime, he's Hollywood. So they did almost like a Hard Knocks kind of version with Jackson State. And there was one scene where they had literally Deion behind the coaching desk. I think it was his DC, and I'm not 100% sure who it was. And James Houston as his last year in college. And they brought him in, and they were talking to him. And Deion just comes out and says, "Hey, man, you're not playing linebacker here. You're not going to start. We want you to move to rush end. We want you to go outside. And we want you to wreak havoc in the backfield and get to the quarterback, tackles for loss, do that." He was hesitant. James Hughes was like, "That's not my gig, man. I'm a linebacker, blah, blah, blah." And next thing you know, Deion just tells him, he's just like, "Hey, man, it's either my way or the highway." He's like, "You're either going to become a rush end or you're just going to sit around and just not play. I'm not going to kick you off the team or anything like that." Or maybe there was a chance he could get booted off the team, not make it, but I doubt that. But he was never going to play. And Deion just told him, "You're not going to play linebacker here." I guess they had a couple good linebackers there at the time. He wasn't going to play. He was going to be a rotational guy and barely just get into games. So they're saying, "You have a chance to start. We love your pass rushing ability." And the rest is history. 70 tackles, 24.5 tackles for loss, pass deflection, 7 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, a pick, a touchdown, and 16.5 sacks, labeling him the problem. Houston, we got the problem. That's what they labeled him that. Jackson State kind of like the announcers there, kind of dubbing him that nickname. And he was a huge problem. It ended up getting him literally drafted in the 6th round, 2022. So this kid had 173 tackles, 36 and a half tackles for loss, 11 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, pass deflection, interception, touchdown, 21 sacks, 4 years of college, 3 at Florida, 1 at Jackson State, and it ended up getting him drafted in the 6th round. Brad Holm found a gem in the 6th round. So when he came to Detroit, I'll be honest, I know Avery called this guy. I had no idea who he was, man, and I think I'm pretty decent with my college players as well. It was a guy I never heard of. Avery turned him on to me. Kind of forgot about him a little bit in the midst of all the draft noise and all that stuff until we drafted him, which was an amazing call. And looking into his tape, you see what he is. Now, you can go look on YouTube and you can do the old, highlights of James Houston. I particularly don't like to do that. I will do that every now and then. I'll look at that, but I like to look at game film. I'm big on stuff like that, the game film, the All-22, whatever I really need to watch. I love to watch actual game film. And but if you got All-22, you can really zero in on a certain player. You can see his reactions. You can get reactions on the sidelines. Whatever you really need to do if you're following that said player. It was a guy that I really had to deep dive into. At Florida, he was just kind of an average guy. He barely cracked 100 tackles in 3 years. He was a part-time gig at linebacker. He's athletic though, very athletic kid. And then he just went on to do greater things at Jackson State. And then when you seen that tape, it was amazing. The bend, the dip, the spins, just the athleticism that this kid had getting to the quarterback was something special. It's fun to watch. I haven't seen anything like that, and I'm not comparing him to anybody, but I haven't seen anything like that. Like his dip, he would get so low that his knees would be scraping the ground. I haven't seen anything like that since guys like Derek Thomas, Von Miller, and like those type of guys. Those are the type of moves that this guy was putting on offensive tackles. Anybody that he was going up against, and it was incredible. It was incredible that no one found this guy until the 6th round. So he did all that. You watch his tape, you try to get the game film, blah, 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 all that stuff. He couldn't get on the field in Detroit. He couldn't get on the field in Detroit his rookie season. They even released him. They waived him, sorry. He ended up coming back to the practice squad. Nobody picked him up. No, not one person picked him up. Not one team. Surprising. So he came up back onto the Detroit Lions after waiving him because he go right back to the practice squad, which is kind of what they wanted to do because they didn't really know what to do with him. They didn't know where to put him. They didn't know where to put him at linebacker. You make him a rush end. He's a tweener. He's only 6'1", 245 pounds, whatever he was coming into his rookie season. He might have even been smaller than that. He might have even been smaller than 240. I think he's 240, 250 right now. So he might have been even a little bit smaller. They didn't know what to do with him. So they waived him, brought him back, put him in the practice squad. It took guys like, I remember reading an article, Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, Tech Decker, whoever had to come up. They had to go up to Aaron Glenn and go, bro, when are you going to activate this kid? He is killing us in practice. I guess he was killing those guys in practice. Swimming by him, dipping, rips, all kinds of pass rush moves on these guys. And he just wasn't getting called up. He was never making the 53. He was always a healthy scratch on the sideline, wearing civilians, just not getting into the games. It took until like Thanksgiving Day game against the Buffalo Bills as a rookie to come in, and what does he do? 2 sacks, couple tackles for loss, causing all kinds of problems. Ends up having 8 sacks, tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and the big year. Yeah, he had 8 sacks in his big year as a rookie. Total of 21 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 14 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 9 sacks. Started 3 games in 3 years. Okay, his 2024 numbers this year, he's even been a healthy scratch this year. 3 to 4 times or something like that. 8 tackles, tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, a sack in 6 games. Okay, nothing eye-popping right there. Nothing eye-popping. It looked like his first couple games were really bad. He wasn't getting any type of pressure. That's why Spirit of Podcast, I think, made that made that call about him possibly getting released, and it looked like it was going to happen. And then, by the third or fourth game, it looked like he was getting a little bit better, causing a little bit more pressure. He had a few more tackles. He's starting to tackle. He's starting to pressure more. He finally got a sack. I believe it was against, I think it was Tennessee. I can't really remember. It might not have been Tennessee. Don't even remember who it was. I remember it might have been It might have been Texans. The Texans. I can't even remember. But he did have a sack. He was kind of dropping back into coverage. I think he was more spying. I think it was Stroud. I think it was the Texans. He was kind of spying him at the time. Then he just made a beeline and made a really nice play and sacked him. So he was getting a little bit better, of playing, but he was kind of, not for all the hype around him, just wasn't up to snuff. So it's a really weird situation. It's a really weird situation because as a rookie, came in, eight sacks, making some noise in the backfield, making plays, not just sacking a quarterback, just making plays. And then all of a sudden, 2023 rolls around. They try to make this kid a 3-down linebacker. Now, I always thought that was a mistake, but I'm not an NFL coach. I'm not an NFL head coach. I'm not a defensive coordinator. I'm not a defensive line coach. I'm not a linebacker coach. I played the game. I have opinions. I did think it was a mistake at the time. I was like, I don't know why they're doing this. He's not that. Like he's not a 3-down linebacker. He doesn't play the run that great. He's not going to drop back into coverage and make plays there. He's a guy that kind of you just tell to pin your ears back and go. So they tried to do it 2023. Blah blah blah, and the story goes on. A couple games in, I think it was the first or second game goes in, he fractures his fibula or his ankle, whatever the hell, his leg. Okay, he completely fractures it. He's done for 2023. He's done, and it was on a kick cover. I believe it was on a kick cover. I got it written down here somewhere. I wrote down. I have the worst handwriting in the world, by the way. Yeah, so I can't even find it, but he did. Yeah, he broke it covering a kick. So he was on a kick return. So he was on a kick cover. Sorry, not kick return. He was on a kick cover and he just fractured his leg. And then he's never been the same. So back comes around this year, 2024. They try it again. They try to make him a 3-down linebacker. And all through training camp, I follow lots of Detroit Lions journalists, beat writers, and I get a lot of their information from there because I don't have the luxury of going over there all the time, driving that far all the way to Allen Park, and being able to watch that stuff. I just don't. There's reasons behind that, but whatever. So you follow that, and all you hear all summer, he's still struggling. They don't know what they're gonna do with this guy. He doesn't look good dropping back in the coverage. He doesn't play the run well, but he's got some pass rush a little bit. But he doesn't look as good because breaking that leg, coming back from that injury, you can tell he's lost a step. You can tell. This came from more than one beat writer for the Detroit Lions. Okay? They're not saying the guy was washed, but they were saying you can tell he's lost a step. You can tell he's coming off an injury. You can just tell. He's not the same guy. So they finally said, screw that. They even did this with Matthew Betts. If you guys know who Matthew Betts was, they tried to make him a linebacker, failed miserably at it. And they just said, screw it. We're going to just make you coming off the edge. They ended up cutting him. He's back in the CFL playing in Canadian Football League. Okay? So they tried the same stuff with James Houston, failed again miserably. They just said, finally, screw it. We're going to just make you an edge guy. Go get the quarterback. Play the run a little bit, I guess. You have to do some things. Not just going to make you a one-trick pony. Because this team, one thing you can say about this football team, they do not like one-trick ponies. It's very obvious. It's super obvious. You have to have some type of versatility. You really do. And if you don't, they're going to show you the door eventually. And he was really good at rushing the passer. Obviously, at 8 sacks as a rookie. Okay? So they tried that. Healthy scratch for 3 to 5 games, whatever it was. He came in for a few games. Then Then there's like these rumors going around right now that he's in the doghouse with Aaron Glenn, in the doghouse with Dan Campbell, not getting along with Aaron Glenn, just not knowing the playbook. He's getting lazy, complacent. Whatever he's doing, he's just not doing what this team's about. So there's rumors flying around right now. They released this guy because he just wasn't a very good locker room guy. That's a complete rumor, though. That's coming from the internet. And the internet's nasty, man. The internet's nasty. It's not necessarily true, but I'm gonna talk about it because I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's not. Don't know the man personally. Never talked to him in my life, so I don't really know. Seemed like a really nice guy. I know he was talking about getting a big payday in like around this time. You know, back after his rookie season, he was like, I want to be a guy that's gonna be one of the sack leaders in all the NFL. That never came forward. That never came to the truth. It just never happened. Okay? So he was outright released. Now he's a free agent. So whoever's thinking that this guy was waived, he wasn't waived. He was outright released. That makes him an automatic free agent, and he can negotiate with teams immediately. That's what he's doing. Dan Campbell apparently came out today too and said that they have no interest in bringing him back. There's a quote. I'll say it right now. Media asking him why it didn't work out with Houston. It just didn't. It just didn't. We had James up for a number of games. He came back off the injury and got back, and it just never quite worked out. Adding, and look, wish him the best of luck. Sometimes you need a fresh start, and this could be great for him. So wish him the best. So Campbell, being the professional that he is, you know, don't really know what type of relationship they had. He wished him the best of luck. He's gone. Now he's gone. Now where he's gonna go, I don't know. I don't think this is, and I don't think this is a mistake. There's fans out there. There's fans out there thinking that we just released Lawrence Taylor. It's kind of funny, you know. Fans panic now. Hey, we've lost a lot of defensive ends. We've lost a lot of pass rushers. Hutchinson, Davenport, Kaminsky as a backup. We've lost some guys. Derek Barnes can rush from the linebacker spot. We've lost those guys. So people are just like, something must be up, because why would they just get rid of a pass rusher who's not having a great year by any stretch? But he can be a guy that can come in and maybe get a couple snaps a game, you know. And then once Zadarius Smith came here, his days were kind of numbered. But to not be a backup, I'm not mad at the release. He wasn't producing. He hasn't been the same guy since he was a rookie. He's just not the same guy. I don't know if it's scheme, fit. I don't know if he's sulking. I don't know what the problem is. The defense has changed a little in the last year and a half. They kind of went to different things. Like Aaron Glenn throwing some different little wrinkles in there. But it's basically been most of the time the same defense. So I don't really know what's going on. Like, I know he wants his secondary to play a lot more man. They do play a lot more man and stuff like that. With the defensive line, I don't really know. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really know what they were thinking that they were going to get from this guy. They tried to make him a linebacker. It failed miserably. It was a late round pick. He's super cheap. He's probably going to go to a team. Someone is going to bring him in, give him a couple $1 million and bring him in on the cheap. Now, will it be the Bears coming up because we're playing them? I see moves like this all the time. I would not be surprised if Chicago brought him in and tried to, today, tonight, tomorrow, whatever that they can, to try to get some information out of him. Or Green Bay or something like Minnesota. It's just a call. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone within the NFC North tried to pick him up just to kind of pick his brain, because that happens a lot. Plus, he's a guy that's young and he's not done yet. He doesn't seem like a guy that's washed. You know, maybe a new system, maybe a whole new atmosphere, whole new locker room will bring out the best in him. You know, I wish him nothing but the best. I really do, man. I hope he finds success in the NFL. I really do, man. So, I think he's going to get picked up because he's a cheap option. and he can get to the quarterback at times. Does he still have that juice from 2, 3 years ago? I don't know. I don't really know. It doesn't really seem like he does. He plays totally different as a rookie. As a rookie, he was making all these moves. He was actually trying to get to the quarterback. It didn't really seem like he was doing that in 2024. He was getting a little bit better as the games were going on. His pressures were getting a little bit higher, and he finally got that sack that that kind of eluded him since his rookie year, but just not the same guy. So, hey man, talking about this for a while. It's a player. It's a funky story. It's a different story, man. He went from the SEC to Jackson State, getting drafted in the NFL. His story kind of up and down, looking like a superstar as a rookie, finally getting a chance, and then getting hurt, not being able to come back really from it. Rumors of not getting along with the coaches and all that stuff. Never heard nothing from players or anything like that about the guy. It's just a weird story. Now he's a free agent. The Lions released him. So, hey guys, that happens, man. It really happens. We're talking about it for way too long, actually, but that's okay. 21 minutes and change. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot for coming in and watching the video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell up top. Don't forget to like, comment, share this out. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Detroit versus everybody. Grit. Let's go, baby. Boom.